Hi, I'm Major Jackson. I am coming to you from my home in Rochester, Vermont, in the Green Mountain National Forest, and very happy to read this poem entitled Coral by the recently departed Kamau Brathwaite, who was born in 1930 in the Barbados. Not only was he a poet, he was also a linguist and a scholar who wrote many books. I began reading Kamau Brathwaite in the early 1990s. This particular poem is arguably his last published poem. It appeared in the winter 2019 issue of the Paris Review. Coral. This living liquid memory, Coral, for Angelique Brathwaite. This living liquid memory, deep tidal embankment under the water, breathes through the sea's leaves like lamplight, dreams itself a green island lizard long before you was born. Branches of blue into tunes of blue crystal, softness of turquoise and terrace and moon, where there still is no sound of the sea, where no waves breaking white, because you was not yet born, not yet turning to morning inside of your mother's womb, where you sing unthorn into a soft pale noon, as the sun reaches you slenderly, on what is becoming reef, how each of your still dead shells touches the sheath and the shoulders of silence, how each wave hiss of gleam is beginning in wonder, how each delicate touch dictates an answering glitter, how each shape eschews shape, like the young leaves of a tree forsaking themselves for the sake of the tree, like how you plait your hair in its single various patterns, only that this is a hardening into the skeleton streams of your island, the valleys marked where the sand grains flower and flow, the glow of the water becoming our shoreline and ancestor, the opposite of charcoal and char, that sleep to their death in the future of emerald fire. But you hear the firstborn of water, even before the fish and the lobster, traveling always upward to sunlight and prairie and flare, while the charcoal resides even farther beyond the night of our prayers and their answering, in the waves now quietly spreading and flowing where there are tunes of rivers and dreams. Because you give water its tongue and its flowering, and an amorous answering chorus of sound. You hold so much birth in your future. Birds, resin from Africa, fluellen silt up from the Amazon, metals we still cannot handle or understand from the mystical shores of Antarctica. And then the first coconut, trundling discoverer, making the Arawak possible. And so too Columbus, and the ever-prospering Prospero, and the clutching roots of the sycamores, sycorax, as the slaves spill ashore in your syllabants, conquistadors crunching the silence on your what is now dune, the flash of your stone upraising, the glow of great houses, the fertile plantations resting still in your still dreaming, unspoiling soil. What a way listening rises, this tree marking the cradle and grave of the wave of the crossroad, the birth and death of our origins. Now, bones once soft become rumble, bones once dust in the water's glimmering particles, plankton, now dust again in the earth where you are bones mistaken for coral, becoming the pebble, the pricelessly stolen pearls of Atlantis, bones now becoming destruction of age and destruction, in the future of mountains, where before There was flowing bones at last becoming headstones, the last crumbling headlands once again, the first waters, the world of the coral you are. Brathwaite, as this poem indicates, had a very strong spiritual and ecological consciousness. His poems not only paid homage, like this poem does, to history, but it becomes a record that history is not history. I found his poems, reading them, to possess a very strong visual effect, one that announced him as an iconoclast who broke away from traditional conventions. This connected to a very strong belief in a kind of human naturalism, embodied both in our speech but also in the poem's presentation on the page. Speaking of, I also and have long admired how he read in nature much of more than just some representation of the natural world, but in fact his work seemed to connect all of his themes, particularly as a post-colonial writer and poet. He's one of the giants of world literature, and when he passed away, I felt this great need to carry on and share his work. And I hope you, if you're not familiar with his work, that you will indeed read more of him. Thank you for listening to this poem by Kamau Brathwaite titled Coral from the winter 2019 issue of the Paris Review.